The pageantry of opening day. Just how you script it up. Your ace and opening day starter has an illness. The TV doesn't work. Your closer blows a save. Nonetheless, the Guardians are 1-0. Let's talk about some game one overreactions on today's Locked On Guardians.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Sweet victory on opening
Justin,
day.
I got to interrupt you. To the one listener who keeps saying I'm talking over the intro, that is Tanner Bibee talking before the show. That is him talking over the intro. I am not talking at all. Now that I've stated that, if you have thought I am talking over the intro, besides our one heavily commenter, please comment below. But sorry, Justin, I did interrupt this time so I could make that definitive statement. Now back to you.
More than a minor interruption to start the Guardians opening day game, though. Nobody had access to MLB. Ironically, everybody was scrambling for access on cable and ended up being the direct-to-consumer that had issues. But on today's Locked On Guardians, we'll talk about the Guardians. The resilient bunch is back. We'll talk about the confidence of Kyle Manzardo. Ben Lively comes to the rescue again. We'll talk about Tanner's illness, what's next for the Guardians, and the bullpen as well. Before we get moving, it's a game one overreactions. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Justin Latta. I have been watching the Guardians my entire life. I have been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007. I'll be doing it again this year, partially for the Morning Journal, the News Herald, Guardians Baseball Insider at one time. Actually, you can go get your section. I got it right here. Copy of the section in the News Herald that I contributed to this year for Guardians preview that I've done the last couple of years.
And I'm Jeff Ellis. I was one of the first people they went to expand Locked On into baseball. For that, I was a lead prospect and draft analyst at Scout and 24/7. Yet, the whole thing started with the Tanner stuff, and we'll get into that, of course, as well. But MLB had one job and they blew it. And for I saw a lot of people getting mad at the Guardians because of, first off, like a lot of information wasn't available about how to watch the games. Like the cable situation still felt a little unresolved. And then no one could make them work. I was telling Justin, it's like you were able to I couldn't even get Baseball Savant to work. It was like parts of the MLB website were down, which is great for everyone who wants to say like baseball's a dying sport. Clearly we saw today it is still super popular, more so than MLB expected or was ready to handle. And it caused them to kind of crash out for a bit. I couldn't get the MLB site to load on my computer. It would work in the app, but it wouldn't work on the computer. There was a lot of issues. But again, I want to say all of that is not the Guardians' fault. You can fault the Guardians for some things, but I saw people getting mad at the team. It's like MLB handled all negotiations with cable providers, and they're the ones whose website failed today. So the one positive, if we want to look on the sunny side, is MLB is more popular than even they expected.
Yeah, maybe so. I think it was just a combination of a lot of things that happened to Major League Baseball. But yeah, very ironic, very unfortunate that their direct-to-consumer options were not going very well for them. But the cable they figured out. So that's kind of very strange. Yeah, baseball's back. And guess what? Our product doesn't work. You can't get it. They figured it out for the most part. Most people still had some challenges, but we got it back on at some point. And just in time for a wild opening day. Opening day is memorable for a lot of reasons. For people, it sticks in your mind. It's that game one. People like it. It feels like it sets the tone, right? Because you and I were talking off air, like, gosh, I hope they win game one because people get really negative after one game, and then as soon as Clase, blew the save, it was like, oh, here we go, and we'll get to that later in the show. But opening day win vibes are so good. They're so good because it really just makes everybody feel better about that first day. And for the Guardians' sake, the Tigers lost, the Twins also lost. So the Guardians, the only winner in the AL Central on opening day. So the Guardians are alone at the top of the standings after a very
that's not
wild
true.
game.
Chicago White Sox.
Oh, won. That's right. The White Sox won.
They made the Angels look bad.
Oh, my God. The Angels should just fold. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. The Angels should fold as the
Everyone
franchise.
made such a big deal about Cam Smith making the Major League roster, and I literally saw nothing about Ryan Johnson making it, who was the Angels second round pick a year ago, who you and I both thought is probably a reliever, but we liked, and he got obliterated today. So that was, the Angels should just fold. Like, no matter how bad it gets to be a Guardians fan, at least you're not an Angels fan.
This was a good win obviously any win is good, but this is a good win for a lot of reasons for the Guardians because they had a lot of reasons this could have gone very south for them. And to be fair, the Royals definitely gave them some help getting out of some things. We'll talk about the Hunter Gaddis thing a little bit
Guardians
later.
also tried to lose it. Like both teams were not crisp in this one.
Yeah, the Guardians just were a little more resilient, I would say, as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to say. This had very, very, very much 2024 vibes for the Guardians. You know, easily could have just said, well, our starter, Ben Lively, who wasn't supposed to start this game, wasn't even in Kansas City 24 hours before the game. He hung back in Arizona to throw like a sim game or an exhibition game with the minor leaguers because he wasn't going to start until the fifth start of the year or the fourth start of the year anyway. He was going to meet the team in San Diego. So he wasn't even there 24 hours for the game, first pitch of the game. He had to fly out the night before, we found out, to start that game. So that's a big reason they could have been behind the eight ball to start with. And then you factor in, gets a 3-run homer. There's some defensive miscues. Hunter Gaddis struggles. You're facing Cole Reagans. A lot of those things could have gone against the Guardians. They didn't. They found a way to win. And that's what I found so fun about 2024. And every year is different, right? You can't transfer. Tito, this is the one thing I always really liked about Tito, and hopefully Vogt. I haven't really heard Vogt say this, but I'm sure he gets it. Is every year is its own. Every team's its own identity. Every year is a new year. Whatever happened last year, you can't carry the vibes over from that, right? But this had very 2024 vibes to it. They were resilient. You know, Ben Lively did enough for them to stay in the game. The offense kept pushing. They got Cole Reagans out of the game. And after Clase blew the game in the ninth inning, they didn't get down. They didn't panic. And winning games on the road in extra innings is very hard. They stuck with it. And then their hero, Kyle Manzardo, came through. So I love the resilient vibes from this game. It's one game. It's hard to take very much from it. But I love the resilient vibes from this team. That's what I felt was strong about this team a year ago was there was no quit. There was no down after things went bad for them. It very much felt like that's how it went today.
Yeah. When I look at the overall performance, the Gaddis situation was funny. Not just the base running, but also that dude struggled against the bad part of the lineup and then gets Bobby Witt to chase a pitch. It's like the up and downs. Gaddis, Jose Ramirez, and Clase all thought it was still the postseason, apparently, with the way they all kind of played today. But you had, in between the third and eighth inning, the Guardians didn't give up a hit. After Pasquantino's home run, there was not a hit until, God, was there even one in the eighth? Wasn't until the ninth, right? Because Gaddis didn't give up a hit. It was an error by Gaddis and a walk. So it was between the third and the ninth inning until Clase came out. There was not a hit. Kansas City grouped theirs all together, and there was one bad pitch from Ben Lively. Ben Lively was around the edges of the zone all game. It was a great performance by him. Cole Reagans was not sharp. Like, he had a lot of walks in this one. He had a lot of pitches, but they took advantage of it. And I also thought it was really interesting, the dichotomy in this game where in the first inning, they walk Kyle Manzardo to load the bases to get to Noel, even though, you're putting the lefty on to face a righty, which is very unusual. And then in extra innings, in the 10th, they walk Santana to get to Manzardo because they're going from the player who hits lefties well to the one who's supposedly at a disadvantage, and he just rips a double, ends up a single short of the cycle. We'll talk the box score bingo and the 3 stars later on, but yeah, it's, Heron and Smith look great, but you saw why they went and added Paul Sewald. Like, it was I know it's easy when you got a 3-run lead relatively, but like, he was also just really settled in. There was so many positives. Yes, not as crisp defensively. I would have liked to have seen like a little more stringing things together as a team, but a lot of guys stepped up, and we said it a year ago, good teams, and we said the year before that, like, good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. They found ways to win this game even when everything wasn't working well. 2023, when they acquired Manzardo, they felt like a paper tiger, even though they were a game and a half back. Last year, it felt good. This year, staying on that same feeling.
Would have been very easy for the Guardians. It's the big thing about getting to aces, and Cole Reagan's definitely an ace, right? I think we can agree on that. He's an ace. And then being a number one for your team and ace are different things, but I think we can agree Cole Reagans is definitely an ace. He is one of the top 5 pitchers in the league. Sport, maybe, I don't know. It's the best thing you can do when you're facing an ace is usually like the guys like Justin Verlanders, the Garrett Coles over the years. Those guys, if you're going to get to them, you get to them early. And the Guardians had the bases loaded in the first inning, and they didn't get anything out of it. And it would have been very easy to feel like, well, that was their best chance. Now things aren't going to come their way. Like you said, he wasn't on the zone very much. They didn't chase out of the zone. I looked it up. So the Guardians last year were the 5th worst team in baseball when it comes to chase rate. That was a 30% chase rate. They only chased out of the zone 26% of the time in this game against Cole Reagans. So, yeah, he wasn't in the zone very much, but the Guardians weren't chasing. I felt like a year ago this is a team that chased an awful lot. And they only worked 2 walks off of Cole Reagans, obviously. But, you're driving up his pitch count into the 80s by the 5th inning, get him out of the game. And the Royals went out this offseason and tried to fortify their bullpen, and it may still be good. It's one game. I mean, we're overreacting to one game here because it's game 1. It's opening day, and we want to have a lot of fun with it. But their bullpen was their one of their big Achilles heels last year, and that cost them the game today. Angel Zerpa struggled, and then Sam Long came in and struggled too against multiple lefties, even though Stephen Kwan is platoon agnostic. So a lot of fight by this Guardians team and a lot of nice changes that we really wanted to see. And it's one game, so we're not going to extrapolate it. If we did, Kyle Manzardo, he's on pace for 162 doubles, 162 homers, 162 triples. The Guardians are on pace for 162 wins. Emmanuel Clase is on pace for 162 blown saves and 162 wins. It's like that Tim Robinson skit on Netflix. We're going to get into all that on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians, including box score bingo, 3 stars. What's next for the Guardians rotation?
But
we know that it is baseball season. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, of course, and the roar of the crowd at opening day, the small ballpark food. I can't wait to get a hot dog at Guardians opening day. If you're looking for last-minute tickets, Game Time makes getting tickets to everything easier. Last-minute deals, all-in pricing, lowest price guarantee takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. And we know the tickets drop closer to Game Time, so you can always get an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and the Guardians regular season is coming up, so you can count on them to grab tickets that meet your needs. For baseball tickets this year, I'll be doing it. I got a concert I know my wife wants to go to in November. We were looking at tickets today just in general, and we decided to hold back. And I said, we should get the tickets on Game Time because we can get last-minute deals on there. We can check for tickets. We can get the all-in pricing so we know exactly what we're going to pay when we want to enter the venue. You don't have to worry about taxes and all those kinds of things. So check Game Time out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create the account and redeem our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever you get podcasts. It is our favorite half hour of the day, and we're glad to have you here with us. Hope it's your favorite half hour. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you hit the bell on YouTube so you never miss a video. Before the game started today, before news came out, I had the Tanner Bibee illness thing up there, the video on that. Post-game reactions, we're doing stuff from draft stuff throughout the year, prospect stuff throughout the year, game reactions throughout the year, and make sure you're auto-downloading on audio so you never miss an episode there. And if you really like us, you can chat with us during the game at the Insiders group. I had a lot of fun today texting with our Insiders group throughout the game. Just reactions, thoughts, news, whatever was going on. We talked about the Tanner Bibee sickness. We talked about Jonathan Rodriguez making the roster like we thought. That is joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. And the link is in your show description.
I will say one thing in defense of the Royals bullpen is the central figures were good. Like their 7, 8, 9 guys were fine. It was just when they had to go to their fourth option. A year ago, their bullpen didn't have a 7, 8, 9. Like Harvey, Ursig, and Estevez weren't there. So that is a big improvement. But the problem is, Jonathan India was terrible today, and he was supposed to be their second best hitter. Like that, for as much as Guardians fans complain, like that, this whole division has a lot of question marks in their lineups. One of Cleveland's question marks today certainly, though, did not look like Kyle Manzardo.
Yeah, I was really glad to see Kyle Manzardo in the lineup in this game. I kind of thought that we would see Jonathan Rodriguez in the DH spot to open the season, just because they carried him for a reason, because they're going to face a lot of lefties, and I didn't really know. And I even said, like, I'm okay with Kyle Manzardo maybe not facing the Cole Reagans, the Tarek Skubals, Like if you're going to face the Yusei Kikuchis and the Tyler Andersons over the weekend, he could play against them because those lefties aren't quite as tough, or they're guys that you can get his feet wet against. But Stephen Vogt, credit to him, Kyle Manzardo in the DH spot and crushed lefties all day. Cole Reagans had the double off him, had the home run off of was it Zerpa? He had a home run off of Zerpa.
Yeah, Zerpa.
And then triple off Cole Reagans, home run off Zerpa, and then a double
off of Long.
Off of Long. So all of his hits off lefties. He also got a walk because they wanted to pitch around him in the first inning, which was ironic. Great game all around for Kyle Manzardo. And one of the things we talked about on the preview show and earlier episodes about what was going to happen at first base DH. And I said, it's one game, but Kyle Manzardo, I know specifically went down to Columbus last year after his first stint in the majors, and they asked him to work on DH routines. And I know our everydayers might remember this, that I said hitting in the major leagues is really hard, but when you go play a position, you can kind of take your mind off a bad at bat. You're staying involved in the game. It makes things a lot easier. So DHing, if you're not a guy who does it regularly in the major leagues, it throws off your routines if you're not used to it. So you have to find a way to stay active and stay involved in the game and just continue to keep up with your thoughts throughout the game and not, dwell on a bad at bat. So the Guardians asked him to do all that, and he came back in September and October and was a totally different hitter. And that, I feel like that's the guy we saw today. I feel like this was October, September, Kyle Manzardo. And against lefties, like he just looks so confident. I know he went home in the offseason and they said he, talked about he thought about what he did, how he improved, lessons from the season. He just looked really confident in the box today and lefties or whatever it was. But I just feel like that's such a big thing. He looks comfortable. Like you saw him after the game smiling and then the handshake line. Like this is a guy who just looks very confident where he is right now. And the Guardians won the trade. I'm going to say it now. The Guardians won the Tampa Bay Rays trade for Aaron Savali.
That's
it's
easy to state. They
traded
the book. they didn't even have Savali for a full year, and they flipped him for Gregory Santos, who's an interesting shortstop and a ball. Like that's not a good. They traded a near ready player. Yes, they went for a position. Like Cleveland won the trade last year. Like Tampa. Tampa might have lost both ends of it because then Savali went to Milwaukee and looked better than he ever looked in Tampa. Like. They lost the Savali trade twice.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. Yeah. So the Guardians finally got one over on the Rays. There aren't a lot on their side of the ledger, but this one for sure I think is. And there's no reason. I know it's one game, but Kyle Manzardo said, "Look, I'm not a big fan of movie Platoon. Sorry, Charlie Sheen and Tom Berenger. Your favorite movie of mine has got to be Major League." I would just keep him in the lineup every day. I know it's one game, but. I think confidence is such a big thing in this game. And if Kyle Manzardo is out there and he's feeling confident and he can be that guy in the middle of the order, I think you got to stick with him. And as long as what did they do well last year, right? They rode the hot hand, right? That was one of the biggest things that they did last season. If Kyle Manzardo's the hot hand, if he's sitting lefties, keep him in there. It's a perfect guy in that lineup. Maybe hit him fourth against righties and fifth against lefties. I think that works. That was a fantastic performance and something that we needed to see from him this year. If he's the guy in the middle of the order, I feel a lot more comfortable with this offense. Obviously, Kyle Manzardo obviously is going to be a single away from the cycle every game all season long. He's going to win AL MVP. But I know we had a lot of people who shared their predictions out with us on the preseason show, the prediction show, and we had some Kyle Manzardo All-Star calls. So whoever had the Kyle Manzardo All-Star, you're off to a great start.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is part of me is kind of curious to watch Cole Reagans this year. In a lot of ways, it's like he was almost a rookie last year. He wasn't, but he had been around so long. Then now teams are getting better looks, and he's if you since I rebroadcast the game, if you want to go hear a broadcast of it, go check out that live I did because I was frustrated. Ben Lively was around the zone all day, and the umpire was calling the top of the zone. If you were 6 inches above the zone, he called it a strike. Top of the zone was wide open today. So if you were near the zone like Lively, you could really take advantage of it. The problem was Reagans was not near. He was off. So I'm curious to see how it goes because Kansas City's got a lot of guys that they don't have a lot of depth. We talked about this before. So I know this is a Guardians podcast. Kansas City is one of those teams they're competing with. They were a playoff team a year ago, and I'm very curious to see how things continue to evolve for both of these squads. Manzardo, though, I just got to talk about the home run off of Zerpa. 424 feet. Like
into the fountains. Yes.
100 and so the pitch before it, Carlos Santana hit a ball 105. But he had a 6-degree launch angle and he grounded out. Then you got Manzardo who hits it, I think, at a 33 at a 106. Like he wasn't even a full mile. If you go into the tens, he wasn't even a full mile an hour stronger than Santana. But he had the launch angle, he had everything, and he just blistered it. And that the whole game, he stepped up for this team. It was that. Yeah, now that they won, I think we kind of forget. But it's like after the first inning, I think a lot of us were like, you gotta get something across. And then after Manzardo's home run, you're feeling in a good spot because you get back-to-back singles and then nothing to show for that. Like they couldn't put this one away, and it came back to haunt them a bit. But they ended up winning, and every single time something good happened, Kyle Manzardo was front and center. They had 7 RBIs in this one, 4 of them from Manzardo, which Leon Wagner was maybe, I can't remember who they had on that, like 4 RBIs.
Yeah, Leon Wagner and Tris Speaker, the only club hitters and to do that in history. And Kyle Manzardo, third play in MLB history to record a double triple home run opening day, joining Don Baylor and G. Walker. First in Cleveland history to do that. Yeah, he was in the middle of it all day long. And really, they had the Stephen Kwan bunt led to the first run, was a sac fly. 2 sac flies got him on the board. And I really thought, 3-2 on 2 sac flies is probably how they're going to lose the game. And the offense kept hanging in, and they kept hanging around. The bullpen came in and did what we expect them to do, even though it took the Royals opening day toot plan to bail them out a little bit. We'll talk about the bullpen here in a little bit. We got to do Jeff's 3 stars and box score bingo in the final segment of today's show. We'll talk about the bullpen a little bit more. What's next for the rotation for the Guardians over the weekend and the rest of this Royals series. All to come on the rest of an opening day overreaction episode of Locked On Guardians.
Prize Picks. Baseball season is now in full swing, and there's no better way to get in the action with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to $1,000 in cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, boo, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. And the other nice thing is you got to pay attention, and you want to be there daily to see when they're giving you one for free. It's something like LeBron James will score more than 1 point. So then you've just got to pick one other category to get some winnings. And yeah, you can keep picking. You can try to hit 4, 5, 6 to really build up that money and those prize opportunities. Or you can be conservative. There's fun things like goblins and so much to check out over at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
All right, Jeff, give it to us from game 1. Let's go with the 3-star. I'll give you my 3 stars. I'll let you give me your 3 stars. I think ours probably have some crossover. We'll do the box
I bet we have a
score bingo
difference.
too. Oh,
I bet we have one difference on this.
All right.
So, if we're doing traditional hockey approach, it'd be like, each stars have different value, but I've never done it that way. I'm not trying to just do the hockey approach. I do my own thing, which is just literally who are the 3 stars in the game. Manzardo makes it easy. I think Ben Lively makes it easy. And then the last spot, it could originally, before extra innings, I had Cade Smith because he came in, faced the heart of the order, and was fantastic. But in the end, I have to give it to Paul Sewald, making his debut in a save situation with the runner on. Like he entered, yes, he had a 3. You can debate, is it, what's harder, a 3-run lead with someone on or, the 1-run lead? I would still say the 1-run lead's harder, but I give it to Sewald in this situation because they needed someone to come in and do what he did, which is just be calm, steady, and shut the door. And I mean, he had a perfect inning, right? It was in my memory. I don't think anyone else reached base. It was 1, 2, 3. So I give it to him. I'm betting you have Cade Smith though.
No, I would go with Paul Sewald. But actually, if you want to get out of the box with our 3 stars, I would get the first star obviously is going to Kyle Manzardo. Second, or if you go in the reverse, whatever you want to call it, it's Ben Lively. The last star though, if you really want to get out of the box, I think it's the Royals base running because they handed that one to Hunter Gaddis. He had the walk, he muffed the bunt a little bit there, didn't get the throw off, was trying to throw to third. And then the Guardian, I mean, or you could even give it to the Guardians defense, I guess, at least. The Guardians defense wasn't great today, but it was great on that play because,
No.
Jose Ramirez, I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah, Jose Ramirez, would he throw that home or was it Brian Roque? I can't remember who threw it home to get the out at home. I think it was Roque who threw it home. And then they had the wherewithal. Jose Ramirez was the last one to touch the ball, had the wherewithal to throw it to second. They got the runner picked off the second, and that allowed them to get out of the inning, which was huge. So, I mean, if you want to call it heads-up defense there, even though it was kind of a sloppy game from that respect, or the Royals base running, just giving the Guardians a way out in this one. But, hey, what have we always talked about in the show, right? I think you might have already said this today.
I already said our line.
Good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find a way to lose. The Royals may not be a bad team, but the Guardians, I think, are a good team, and they found a way to win. All right, box score bingo in this one, Jeff. The Guardians had 10 hits and, 3 walks. That's
3 walks,
base runner.
And
that's
but
runs,
you have to count the bonus. So it's 10 plus 3 plus extra innings, so you get 14. So that is 4 to 5 runs. That's typically about 4 to 5 runs. The reason they hit 7 is because of those 8 hits, 4 of them were extra base hits. I want to say yes, they had half of their hits were extra base hits. So when you see that shift higher, it is because you have a higher percentage of extra base hits. On the other side,
extra base hit power. We like that in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, all I heard was how the offense wasn't good enough. How does Cleveland only have 1 error listed here? It should be 2 errors, Jose and Gaddis. I don't know why
they didn't list. They didn't give Jose one. Gaddis got one, but they never gave Jose one.
Jose's was an error. It was called an. So instead it became a hit.
It was a fielder. I think it was a fielder's choice.
For sure. So I'm going to give Cleveland 2 errors because that was an error. There's no way around it. That's an error. So 2 errors, 7 hits. So that's 9 opportunities. They had 1 walk, so that's 10. And then you have an extra, the runners, so that's 11 opportunities. Since that's right on the cusp there, that's 3 to 4 runs. And for, Kansas City, they only had the 2 extra base hits out of their 7. They had a much lower percentage of extra base hits. So that's why they were right about their average, as opposed to Cleveland surging past theirs. That's the great separator. They know it's not the most complicated thing, but people seem to love the box score bingo. So we're bringing it back. I created a document. We'll share it in the Insider account, and I'll share it overall as well. You can find it on my Twitter, where every single game I'm going to list the 3 stars. I'll have a running count on who has the most stars. I'm not weighting the stars because I'm too lazy for that. I'm just gonna say who has the most stars at the end of the year, and then Guardians and opponents base box score bingo score and the expected runs based on that. So I'm going to put this together for every game. You will see it in there.
All right. Yeah, check that out. Become an insider if you want a little more direct access to that. We could have spent more time on Ben Lively, but just continues to be a steady Eddie, right? This is a guy, again, was not in Kansas City for the game until 24 hours before, until Tanner Bibee's sickness, which we'll get into here before the end of the show. Just shows up and just does his job. I mean, it competes, and he made 1 bad pitch. I know he had the walk to Isbell and then the single to Witt.
Double to Isbell. He didn't have any walks.
Double, yeah. Yeah, and then just couldn't get Witt out there, and that extended the inning.
He was crazy too, because this is what we talk about. This is why extension matters. Because Ben Lively, that whole game was 88, 89, 89.9. Like, he was sub 90 on almost every single 4-seam fastball. And that doesn't work. It does not work in baseball. It never works. Guys, but I'm saying all this, but it worked. Why did it work? Because he's got some of the best extension in baseball. So that 89.9, that 88.7 is playing up 1 to 2 miles an hour faster. And that's why it's important, because literally extension is the only reason Ben Lively is a major league pitcher. If he didn't have that extension, all those things we talk about with other pitchers in the minors and why they're not successful, that would be coming back here. But his extension is what allows him to play in spite of the lesser stuff and the lesser velocity. And I have to bring it up because we talked about this team covets extension. So this is just a perfect reason to show why they covet it.
And the other key point for Ben Lively, too, is that we've learned this about him in the last year. And I know Zach asked after the game, so good for him. And I remember the story, so I'm glad he asked it, because I think he's the one who wrote it. Ben Lively, we went over to Korea to pitch and had learned some things about himself. The Ben Lively of a couple of years ago in the major leagues was not prepared to handle all the things that happened, having to be up in Kansas City for a start he wasn't supposed to make and be here flying in the last minute. Those are things early in his career that would have rattled him, that he wouldn't know how to handle, and it wouldn't have been a good situation. And he was the only guy who could start this game. Like, everybody else was on rotation for another day. He was the only guy who, this was his 5th day. It was either that or it was, Joey Cantillo, Jacob Junis, Tristan McKenzie, and hope the bullpen comes in after that. Like that would have been a bullpen game for opening day. How crazy that would have been. So credit to Ben Lively for handling a tough situation. A guy who's grown a lot, and like you said, doesn't have the best stuff, has extension, the kitchen sink approach. He's just a steady Eddie for them. So credit to Ben Lively a ton. We could have brought this up a lot sooner. We'll touch on a little bit of Cade Smith and Paul Sewald a little bit more, and I think Tim Herron, but because Steven votes after the game. Well, when bullpen guys do well, they don't give up runs. We don't talk about them, but when they give up runs, we talk about them. Had the Guardians not won this game, we would have led with this. It's one game, so obviously we're overreacting to game one here. Any concerns about Emmanuel Clase to start the season? Like that, they hit him hard. I will say, like every ball the Royals hit off him was smoked. The stuff was still there. Like the velocity obviously was fine. He got 5 swings and misses out of 14 swings overall, so it wasn't like he was having an issue missing bats because he's normally not even a bat misser.
No, he's not a bat misser.
Do you really have any concerns after one game? I got to be honest, I really don't. Like it just felt like to me that he was throwing stuff over the middle of the plate a lot, and he's just got to be a little more better with his command and not. I mean, 100 miles an hour over the plate, still over the plate, right?
Well, and the other thing is he kind of looked like Cole Raggins, honestly, in terms of pitch placement when I was watching. It's like he was either in the plate or really off. He was not like good Clase is around the edges of the zone. He just wasn't sharp. That's not mental. That's just it's the first game. He is traditionally not great at the start either. Like his problems are in the early, like we get a lot more comments about Clase struggles in the first few months. And then once it hit, listen, it's going to be a bit of a long time here with Carlos Santana, Jose Ramirez, Emmanuel Clase. These are slow starters. These are guys, like Amed Rosario was, where it's like they don't heat up until it starts to heat up. Jose was the only player who didn't reach base in this game for Cleveland. We haven't really talked about that. He had a sac fly.
He did have a sac fly.
He had a sac fly, but he didn't reach base. Everyone else reached a base. He had and then he had the error and almost and he did give away another run with that error, right? Like otherwise they would have been out of the inning and it wouldn't have mattered. So like we wouldn't have gone to extras if
that was the Gaddis inning. That was the Gaddis inning.
No, because Gaddis was.
Oh, you're right. That was Clase.
That was Clase. So like we're not even talking about Clase if Jose makes the throw. Correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was the.
Or was it after that?
Bobble.
I can't remember.
Bobble.
Either way, they'll be fine. I'm not worried about either of those three guys. And heck, Santana scored 2 runs. I didn't realize he's the only other player besides Manzardo who reached base twice today. Everyone else was a one and done. I mean, it was nice to have like that completionist stuff throughout the lineup. There's other players I definitely was more concerned about, but I'm not. It's a group that group of guys start slow. He'll be fine. You don't go from one of the 5 greatest closers statistically of the modern era to trash. Yeah, like that just doesn't happen. So he'll be fine. I agree, though. Paul Sewald looked great, and you want that experience for a reason. They wanted to add experience, and I felt like we really saw it today.
Yeah, this is exactly why the Guardians signed Paul Sewald, a guy you have at the back end of the bullpen who isn't your closer but has back end experience that allows you to push guys like Cade Smith in the 6th inning, which was a great button to push for Steven Vogt, by the way. To you and I were talking about that a little bit when we were doing the live during the game. Great button to push to go hit to him there with Bobby Witt up the top of the order up, and Cade Smith and Tim Herron came in and they sliced the Royals like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it was just very easy,
Herron,
very
nice
nasty.
To see.
15 pitches, 11 pitches. Yeah, the velocity was pretty much where you want it to be. Cade Smith broke out a couple sweepers. I mean, those guys just looked electric and looked like they did a year ago in the regular season. Yeah, Gaddis did not throw the ball particularly well. It was still some wonky control. I'm pretty confident he'll be okay. He had some early season struggles a year ago too.
He's the only one I have slight concerns about. He's the one. If you're like, who are you most concerned about after game 1? I would say Hunter Gaddis.
I mean, I get it because he did talk about how he felt
But
hungover at the end of the year physically, or just he was just tired at the end of the season. But he also had a hard time at the start of the season last year. I remember last April he blew 2 or 3 games in a row.
Yeah,
in Atlanta, and
everyone
New York, was kind of panicking.
It's like
I forget. No, I think it was Atlanta and Houston, and everybody was panicking about him. And then he went on the rest of the year and was just like insane. After that, he was as good as Cade Smith, so he'll be fine. But yeah, Paul Sewald pushes all those guys up. He can come out in any role. I think he's a guy you can use in any situation. He just has experience everywhere, and I think he likes just being a part of a good winning team and bullpen. as for the Guardians rotation, so, unfortunately we found out, maybe we could have led with this a little more, but, unfortunately we found out before the game about Tanner Bibee getting sick and having some
and we
food
had to sit on
poisoning.
that. We knew we had to sit. We were responsible.
Yeah. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I was like, no, this can't be true. Like, I was like, this has got to be a joke, right? Like, there's no way this could happen. Yeah, poor Tanner Bibee. People were saying he did an interview with somebody else over the off season or last season, was talking about how he loves to eat Chipotle every day. And I know he told me when he was at Lake County how much he eats Chipotle before every start. And he tweets, "Stop talking about Chipotle like that. Sick before I can even think about a bowl." Yeah, so hopefully he's better. But what a bummer to miss that first start. But hopefully, I don't know what the Guardians' plans are because everything's up in the air right now. We'll talk about that in a second here. But maybe this gives him a chance to start the home opener. That'd be a lot of fun to have him start the home opener on the 8th. He's got he potentially could pitch over the weekend in Anaheim. He could potentially pitch in San Diego. And he can also potentially pitch the home opener. So there's still a way for him to. I don't know. We'll see. So the Guardians right now are listing Saturday, Sunday as TBD. There's no definite starters for the next 2 games of the Royal Series. They don't actually have an official starter yet for the San Diego series, which starts on March 31st, because they're going to see how Tanner feels. It sounds like he was throwing up quite a bit, 24 hours before the game. So I think it's going to be depending on how he bounces back, gets hydrated, isn't sore from puking his guts out, unfortunately. But it could go another way. It could be Gavin on Saturday. It could be Tanner on Saturday, and then they'll just go from there. So it's either going to be Gavin or Tanner, I think, and then they'll go from there. That's my guess.
He just heard about how well things were working at the MLB.com and it made him sick. Like he
was getting so sick of Major League Baseball's TV problems.
I just feel, honestly, it's like I feel bad for Tanner because we know it was a big deal to get that. He wanted this. He wanted that opening start, so it sucks for him. But with that contract, with that contract, he should be the guy for the next six seasons after this. Like that's where he should be. I don't. How can you not be happy? Oh, sorry. I'm just wanted to throw there's always a doom and gloom. They traded away named players, and I know for a lot of people that was very hard. There's a lot of question marks. But how can you not be happy today? Like, I just want to throw that out there. Like, I had someone saying I was super negative in the mailbag yesterday, and it's like, I just want to stress it's like, it's fun. Like, I don't know how you can not have fun right now. This was a fun game. They scored 7 runs. They had 10 hits. We've been worrying about offense. They had offense today. Sure, it was mostly one dude. Heron, like Tim Heron's one of those guys I was kind of curious to see how he'd bounce back, and holy criminy did he bounce back. Like, I was so sold on Cade Smith. I didn't need to worry. Yeah, there were parts I didn't love, but there were parts that were great, and you could see how this could be a playoff team again. You could see how this could be a dangerous team. So I just want to put that super positive note on because I don't know. It's so nice to have baseball, real baseball. I'm sorry to spring training fans, but it's nice to have real baseball.
Yeah, I felt the vibes. I was excited. That's why I jumped on the live with you as things were getting fun during the game. It's a lot of fun. If Kyle Manzardo is the guy in the middle of the order, like that's going to be a lot of fun this year. If he's playing confident against lefties and all season long, the bullpen was as good as we expected. I mean, I think Gaddis will be fine. We think Clase will be fine. You got Seawald. Lively stepped in a tough situation, did his job. Bibee is going to be just fine. And they're just resilient. Like this is exactly what they were a year ago. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you can't transfer vibes. You can't transfer things from season to season, but this team didn't really have a lot of quit in them last year. We saw a lot of great comebacks. We saw a lot of belief in that dugout that if they gave up runs, if they were down, the game wasn't over. I can't talk about how much in years past, even on Tito teams, that this team just looked like it was defeated. It didn't have a lead because they didn't have the offense to come back. And we'll find out more about the offense. Gabby Arias had a double in this game, by the way.
He did.
So
and he had a 9-pitch first at bat. Like his first at bat, he didn't get on base, but 9 pitches, like that was great.
We'll take that.
And John Kenzie Noel, first at bat, not great. Let's be honest. But after that, he reached 1 or 2 balls in every single at bat. Like he was more patient. We saw a little more patience. That's huge for him.
So a win for Grant Fink. That's what we're saying. Yeah, Grant Fink for president. He's there. And
I had something, but my
friend
brain
of the show, Grant Fink,
just blanked out. But it's like there was just a lot of positives. Just enjoy them. Just enjoy them.
Yeah, it could have been ugly if they didn't
Oh,
come back and after the Clase
got
blown save, but they did because this is a resilient
no,
bunch.
just to go back to what you said, it's like definitely 2 years ago, I would have felt like 3-0, this game's over. I didn't feel that. And they just, sure, they chipped away, got the big hit. Like that is that thing. And I know you've talked about it's like, that's the resiliency. This is a team that doesn't quit. This is the team that is always thinks they're in it. And that's a mindset and mentality. It's going to serve them well. I want to give a shout out to Jeff Hall, who mentioned that he listens to us every single day as he's getting ready for work. So thank you to Jeff, who had a comment I responded to about when the most waivers happen. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. We've had a really good week for numbers. I know it helps when baseball comes back, but just from my live stream and we're going to be over 2,000 views in the last 6 hours. So thank you to everyone. If you're new, just discovering us, make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up so you get more content from us. We are here every day. And not to toot our own horn, and we're going long, but who cares? It's opening day. The network can deal with it. And you can send all those issues that you might have with that to @JustinLatta@gmail. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. Okay. Jeff's just throwing the bag. How am I catching strays over here for this?
Well,
Wow,
if they start
okay.
with @Justin, it's but
It's fine. Yeah.
Not to toot our own horn, but the one thing all of our comments say is not only are we going to have you covered for the majors, but we're the go-to place for the minors. I think we're the go-to place for the draft. I'm saying this because it's what you say, the listener. So I just want to say, no matter what you want, we got you covered. It should be a fun year. It is an interesting team. You got Jose and Santana, who could be setting team records, moving up in the books. And you got the young players like Manzardo, who are trying to start their own dominance. And just have fun.
Tanner Bibee, who will be healthy next start.
Yes.
Real quickly, too, before we get out of here, I wanted Dominic, one of our insiders, really wanted me to share his prediction. He didn't get it in time. He felt bad. He said the Guardians are going to go 93-69. He said, thanks to the
positivity.
Yes, they're going to win the division going away. He said the White Sox are going to be a little bit better, but he thinks that they're going to do really well when the division running away. And they said Jose shouldn't have needed 162 to get to 40-40 last year. And there was something about foul poles last year I didn't like either. So want to make sure we got Dominic's predictions on the air. Is really important to him. So thanks, Dominic, for that. Thanks for everybody who contributed to that too. We appreciate you. We'll be back on Monday in your feeds to talk about the wrap up of the Royals series. Hopefully a Tanner Bibee successful start where he's healthy and on the mound really good. And then we'll also do Minor League Monday. The Columbus Clippers start their season tonight, just AAA. So we'll come back on Monday with a Minor League Monday. We'll talk about the Clippers' first weekend of action too.
I think one of our everydayers, Anthony, also posted all of his predictions. So in the chats, I'll throw those in there. 85-77, wild card, no on 40-40, 16 starts for Shane, and Tanner, Gavin, Jose, all making the all-star team. But thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Again, hit that thumbs up if you are new. We appreciate everyone. We are on the push for 4,500, and we're more than halfway there. So thank you all, and go Guardians, go.